and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jody, and on my channel I talk about Broadway and books. And in today's video, I'll be going over some of the shows set to close on Broadway in the next few months. So that's what today's video is about. Now, before I get on into today's video, I just want to first point out that I am wearing my t-shirt for when I saw the Broadway musical Newsies in 2012, and I thought it'd be fitting to wear this t-shirt today because this is somewhat of an informative video about the news of some Broadway shows closing. Plus, the musical Newsies does have something in some way to do with today's video as well, but more on that later in the video. Now for the Broadway shows set to close on Broadway in the next few months. So I'll be going in the order of when these shows will be closing. So the first one being Once Upon a Mattress. So this new Broadway revival is currently playing at the Hudson Theater, where it's scheduled to close on November 30th. This show was always intended to be a limited run on Broadway, so no real surprise to hear that the show will be closing on that date. What you may or may not know, though, is the show will then transfer to LA, where starting in December, the production will have a 4-week run there, and Sutton Foster and Michael Urie will be reprising their roles in the LA production that they played on Broadway. So if you weren't able to make it to New York to see the show, you still have a chance to see the show in LA. Now for the next show set to close. That would be the musical The Notebook. This show is set to close on December 15th at the Schofield Theater. And in case you weren't aware, this new musical is based on the book of the same name by Nicholas Sparks. There was also a film adaptation of the book made as well. So if you're not able to make it to New York to see the show live on stage, you can always read the book or watch the film. And there will be a national tour of this new musical starting next year. Now for the next, not show, but shows set to close. On January 5th, there's quite a few shows set to close. The first one being Suffs the Musical. This new musical is currently playing at the Music Box Theater. It actually won Best Book and Best Score at this year's Tony Awards, I believe. And now for the next show, which is Water for Elephants. This new musical is currently playing at the Imperial Theater. This book, got ahead of myself. This new musical is actually based on the book of the same name. There was also a film adaptation of the book made as well. So like with The Notebook, if you're not able to make it to see Water for Elephants live on stage in New York, you can always read the book or watch the film. And there will also be a national tour of this new musical starting next year as well. Now for the next show, that would be Back to the Future. This new musical is based on the film of the same name. And out of all the shows I'm talking about today that are closing, this one was the most surprising to hear that it was going to be closing. But at the time that Back to the Future closes on Broadway, it's actually playing at the Winter Garden Theater. I almost forgot to say that. At the time that this show will have closed on Broadway, it will have had about a 1.5-year run, I believe. And I know while many may think that's not a long, time for a show to be on Broadway, realistically, not many shows make it past a few months or even to a year on Broadway. So for a show to have a 1.5 years on Broadway these days is quite an accomplishment. And I believe there is a national tour of the show currently playing, so you can always see the show that way if you're not able to make it to New York before the show closes. And now for the last show set to close on January 5th, that would be the musical Elf. This show is returning to New York for the third time, where it will play at the Marquis Theater. This show doesn't start till November 9th, I believe, and I believe it's scheduled to close on January 5th, but, it's definitely a limited run. If I'm mistaken on January 5th, it's definitely closing sometime in January, most likely, because there is another show going in that theater after Elf is closing. But out of all the shows I'm talking about today, this is the only one that I've actually seen on Broadway. I got to see the very first production in 2010, and from what I remember, it was a really great adaptation of the film, and it is quite the perfect show to see during the holiday season in New York. Just such fun. And now for the last show that I'll be talking about today, that would be Stereophonic. This show is currently playing at the Golden Theater, where it's scheduled to close on January 12th. This show actually won the Tony Award for Best New Play at this year's Tony Awards as well. So in case you didn't know, now you know. And now for not a show closing, but more of a performer in a show that is set to leave the production, in the next few months. And that's where the musical Newsies comes into play. So, if you're into theater like myself, you already know this. But Jeremy Jordan was in the musical Newsies in 2012. Now he's currently starring on Broadway in the musical The Great Gatsby, and he's been in the show for almost a year, not quite a year, but anyway, he's going to be closing. I don't know what I'm saying here. He's going to be leaving the production on January 19th. So, this news recently came out, so I just thought I'd share that in case, you were hoping to see him in the show before, hoping to see him in the show. He will be leaving on January 19th, so you still have some time to see him in the show before he leaves. So I just thought I'd share that in case you, didn't hear that news yet. And, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you get to see some of these shows, that I talked about, now that you know they're closing. And yeah, that's that. And just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And as always, until next time, bye.